Doing a Parashat Shoftim, Torah Kedosha tells us that it's important once we enter Eretz Israel to set up a system of Shoftim v'Shotrim, a judicial system where any disagreements, any lawsuits can be handled by judges, any criminals can be dealt with Shotrim by police force. This is a system that needs to exist in every society. Even in a Jewish society, there can be criminals. We're all human. We have a Yetzer Hara. And in order to control the situation, you need Shoftim v'Shotrim. So if you notice at this point in time, at this point in the Parasha, there's no mention of Melech. There's no mention of an upper or higher authority. The Shoftim and v'Shotrim would be able in reality to handle all the situation, as they did for many, many years. Later on we'll talk about how the need arises, if at all, for Melech to come into play. So Shoftim and v'Shotrim, you should have amongst you.
They're above the Melech.
No, they're not above the Melech. The Melech is above everybody.
Yeah.
Right, but they are, in a sense, the highest before we get to Melech. There's no need for Melech. Right? Shoftim v'Shotrim תיתן לך בכל שעריך השם אלוקיך נותן לך שבטיך ושפטו את העם משפט צדק. Obviously the idea is that they should not be corrupt, that they should handle all cases with justice, they should pursue the truth, and they should resolve all disputes. That is the idea of having Shoftim v'Shotrim. Nevertheless, as you know, with every pasuk in the Torah, besides the pashut pshat, besides the simple interpretation, there's also a lot of musar. There's a lot of ethics. There's a lot of lessons to be learned, and including in this pasuk, the Torah Kedosha is telling us, revealing to us that there is a need. There is a need for individual to have Shoftim v'Shotrim in his own life, to set up a system of discipline in everybody's life. That is learned from this pasuk. People need to be organized, people need to be disciplined, and that is one of the ideas that is being conveyed in this pasuk. Obviously, a lot of people are, if they're single, they don't have a partner, it's more difficult for them. One of the ideas behind the zivug, behind the marriage partner, is to be able to fill in or to help in organizing one's life and making an order. Right. What? Hopefully not. If you have the right zivug, the two complement each other, fits perfectly. Yeah. So anyway, so this is an important idea here, that one has to have order in his life. One does not have order, his life is messed up, then he does not manage as much. Managing, being successful in life, part of that involves the order and discipline, just like it is in business. Another idea in Shoftim v'Shotrim titen lecha b'chol sha'arecha is that the Torah is telling us that a person should always examine his deed, always look at himself, to be a shofet, to judge himself. Not all the time are you going to have somebody telling you, criticizing you. First of all, there are people who don't want to hear criticism, right? No matter who gives it. So be your own judge, be your own critic. You only have yourself to blame. So Shoftim v'Shotrim titen lecha, be a judge to yourself, examine your deeds, and see whatever needs to be repaired and fixed. Take care of it. Another point that is mentioned here, Shoftim v'Shotrim, is that titen lecha, before criticizing others, before telling others what to do about a particular problem, if you have the same problem, before you tell others to do something, fix or to correct, in other words, make sure that you don't have the problem yourself first. Otherwise, it's hypocrisy. Telling somebody about a problem that you yourself have. How could you do this if you do it yourself? It's not. First of all, it's not going to be effective. And second of all, it's not correct. So Shoftim v'Shotrim titen lecha first before you apply it to others. A nice story that I like to tell is about a rabbi who used to judge the people in his community, and he heard that there was going to be a case the following morning between two individuals who are neighbors, Reuven and Shimon. Reuven has a big tree that's sticking out into Shimon, and it's basically interfering, and Shimon wants to cut it up, wants to chop it off, and Reuven says, no way. So that's what the lawsuit is all about. He heard what it involves, and that same day, that evening, before he went to sleep, he called his gabbai, and he told his gabbai, go chop down my tree that is sticking out to the Shuk Rabbi. The rabbi had a tree that the branches also stuck out to the street. And he told this gabbai, go chop off my branches. Next morning, the rabbi calls the Rebbe Shimon, and he hears the case, And he tells Reuven, listen, you're wrong, Atamazik. You're causing harm, you're damaging. Of course, Shimon is entitled to have that part of the tree removed. That is, what's the word for it? That is
overhanging.
No, not overhanging. There's a word for
Intruding.
not only intruding, protruding. When you have part of your fence or part of your property encroaching on somebody else's property, it's illegal, right? The other one is entitled to remove it. Very simple halakha. So Reuven, of course, is upset. Rabbi, how could you say that your own tree is sticking out and causing harm to others? How could you tell me how this can't be true? He says, I don't know what you're talking about. My tree encroaching, sticking out. Go check for yourself. Right? Of course, once he checked, he saw that it was no longer. He made sure that he doesn't have the same problem. Otherwise, how could he tell him? And how could he convince the other person that this is wrong when he himself has a similar problem? Next point. The Torah tells us tzedek tirdo, that you should pursue justice. Look how it says tzedek. It's a double language. Anytime the Torah adds an extra word for emphasis, obviously it is important. Not only is the Torah telling us to be careful, to be accurate, and to not take bribes, and this is another way of telling us how important tzedek is at all costs. Tzedek, justice, the truth. Not only is the Torah telling us how important this is, tirdo, that you have to pursue it at all costs. The point over here is what the Rabbi tells me, midah shatam oded moredim lecha. In other words, the Torah is saying, tzedek tirdo. There's a double language here, because if you pursue it in Hashemayim, they will deal with you in the same way. If you are tzedek, you will have tzedek. How you deal with others, how you conduct yourself with others. So it's very important that a person who is in business, even though he has opportunities to easily cheat, not only should he be concerned with the halakha, he must realize that everything comes back to him. He cheats people, at the end he will be cheated. Midah keneged midah. If you are honest, people will respect you, people will like you, people will hire you, people will want to do business with you, people will remember it. Midah shadam modedim lo.
They all the time.
What? You don't have to deal with them. Parasha is in Hashemayim, and therefore, if you know that somebody is crooked, you don't need him. You can deal with others, and you will still have the parasha. Leman tichye. The Torah is telling us, if you follow justice, leman tichye, yarashta et ha'aretz asher Hashem Elokecha natan lachem. Tichye. In other words, you will survive, you will live, you will not have troubles from your enemy, and you will inherit the land. So I emphasize here the inheritance of the land. The inheritance of the land of Eretz Yisrael is dependent on justice. If there is a lack of justice in the country, if there is a corrupt system, there's trouble. There's going to be a lot of trouble. Let's look at what's happening in some Latin American countries. You can buy all the judges you want. You can do anything you want. You want to change the flag? As long as you have enough money, you may accomplish that too. Changing the flag. Right? As long as you have enough money. Torah tells us inheriting the land of Eretz Yisrael is very much dependent on pursuing justice. What's the connection? Well, what is the main claim of those inhabitants of the land that are not Jews? Listim atem, you are thieves, you robbed our land, right?
Yeah.
They have said that in the past, they say it today, different words. Listim means you robbed. What kind of we have to pay attention to what they're saying, because in what they say lies the code or the explanation of what are the source of our troubles. If they're saying these things, it's because we are listim. In reality, we are listim, not from them, but from each other. There was no justice. When the Arab, the enemy, tells us, you are robbing our land, it doesn't belong to you. So we have to pay attention to what they're saying. It's crazy. The whole world knows that the land belongs to us. The Bible, which they respect, says so. So we have to pay attention to what is being said by the enemy. What they're saying, there's a grain of truth. Not listim of the land, but listim from each other. So if that's the connection of tzedek tirdo v'yarashta et ha'aretz, we don't pursue justice. If there's a lack of justice, and there is a lack of justice, even today, when they claim it's democracy, it's not a democracy, and it's corrupt, and it's definitely not according to the Torah, so it can't be correct. It's crooked. So they will have a problem with the Yerusha of Eretz Yisrael because of that. Another important point in tzedek tirdo, which I like to repeat, the pasuk of Achtov v'Chesed v'Hedefut, which has to do with this. There was once an individual that was a big, how do you say in Yiddish, a big macher, askan. He used to help people. People had a problem, he would help them. People needed a loan, he would help. He used to do a lot of chesed. Tremendous chesed, everybody knew him for that. philanthropist, and he worked day and night. And even though he had a business of his own, business was number 2, and this was number 1. He did this so much that his family approached him one day and says, you know what, you are older now, you don't have the strength that you did in the past, and your business needs you, and the family needs you. Stop. You don't have to do so much for others. You did already enough. Yatzata yidei chova. He listened to them, and they explained it very logically. They meant for his own health also. And they meant for the good of everybody. That there's other people that can help. You're not the only one in this world. And it bothered him a lot. He didn't want to let go. It bothered him a lot. And he said, you know what? I'm going to go ask the Chafetz Chaim. It's a big important question. Should I start doing it? Should I reduce my hours? Because it was, he dedicated many, many hours for this. So he went to the Chafetz Chaim. He arrived at the house of the Chafetz Chaim, and there's a gabbai at the entrance. He says, he tells him, I want to see the Chafetz Chaim. The Chafetz Chaim is right now in the middle of the meal, and as soon as he's done, I'll let you in. He lets him in at the end. Chafetz Chaim is about to say Birkat HaMazon, and before he begins to say Birkat HaMazon, he says a Dvar Torah. He asks a question. The man didn't approach him yet. He's sitting in the back. Chafetz Chaim says, I don't understand. It always bothers me. David HaMelech says, Ach tov v'chesed yirlifuni kol yemei hayai. Only good chesed should pursue me. What kind of a language is Yirdefuni with Hesed? Yirdefuni, pursue? Where do you use that kind of a language with an enemy? Right? With an enemy, to pursue, to go after. What does Yirdefuni have to do with Hesed? He's asking if Hesed should pursue him? No. We have 2 questions. If Hesed should pursue, why Rirdo? Why pursue? It doesn't make sense, the Chafetz Chaim says. The Chafetz Chaim answers his own question. He says like this: everybody in Hashemayim has a certain amount of tzarot, of troubles in life and hardships and struggles that will pursue one, will pursue him in life. It's according to his mazal, according to the Gzerah decree in Hashemayim, according to a certain cheshbon. David HaMelech says, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, if I have to be pursued, if I have to be troubled, if I have to be bothered so much, so many years, I'd rather be bothered by doing good things for people. I want to do favors for people. If I have to be bothered 5 hours, it's not fixing a flat tire 2 o'clock in the morning. It's not having to dig a big ditch because the main pipe broke. It's a big job, right? The main pipe. It's a big job, right? And dirty, right? And dirty. Even if you hire people, it's a headache, right? I don't want to be bothered with the 4 root canals at once. And by the way, this happens. 4 root canals at once. 4 bypasses. Right. I don't want to be bothered by these things. If I have to be bothered, let it be tov and chesed things. Let those things bother me. Yeah. Okay, so I'll go to sleep late, but because I did something good, that should pursue me. Chafetz Chaim said, the Gabbai says, go ahead and ask your question. He said, no, thank you very much. I already got my answer. He got his answer right away, and he went home and he continued to do his good work.
It must have come from his wife anyway.
Well, of course. Anyway, tzedek tirdof. A person should always pursue. Let this be his trouble. Okay, next point is a very significant point in the Torah. It's found in Parasha Shoftim. Later on, Torah says, Tamim tiyeh im Hashem Elokecha. Famous pasuk, right? Tamim means to be sincere, and it also means to be complete. The word tamim is also used today in Hebrew to mean naive. But simple. It's true. A person who's naive is a person who believes, who is simple. The Torah is telling us, no, tamim tiyeh im Hashem Elokecha. What's the reason for this? This is a very important, a very powerful statement. It says, Perek Yudchet Pasuk, that's Pasuk Yud Gimel. In the Pesukim before that, the Torah tells us about the prohibition of consulting with astrologers, consulting mediums, and going to a seance. Everybody here know what a seance is? Seance, a seance. Huh? A seance, is that how you pronounce it? Seance is in French. In English you also pronounce it that way? Sure it's not a seance? Okay. In the cinema, it's okay. I'm sure Shakespeare pronounced it differently anyway. Yeah. All these things, the Torah would not prohibit these things if they wouldn't be true. The Torah would not prohibit it if it wouldn't be true. The Torah would not prohibit this with the Isur if it wouldn't be at least partially true. So these things exist, these powers exist, these opportunities to consult with the dead, because what Ov is and Yid'oni is is consulting with the dead, those who have died, through a medium or in a seance situation. For example, the typical tool used in a seance is a Ouija board. You know what a Ouija board is? Ouija board is comprised of two words, one in French and one in German. Oui, ya. Ya is yes. Oui is yes in French.
Yeah.
The board has all the letters of the alphabet, plus a place where it says yes and a place where it says no. And they put a cup, and I'm not going to tell you all the details of how to do it, I can't do it.
Somebody told me the way.
Okay? And you ask the question to somebody that passed away, and the cup all of a sudden, by itself, makes turns on each letter, and they start writing the answer to their question, and it works. What? Let's put it this way. I spoke to people who have done it.
You know what? They took my
I haven't participated because it's a sur.
They took my own children, before she.
Yeah.
And she went to one of the seances, and she saw it.
Of course.
No, here in America, in New York.
Sure.
In New York.
Anyway, so these things exist everywhere, and they consulted with, they brought down Rabin. They brought down Rabin, they brought down Ben Gurion, they brought down all these people. It's asur, it's no good, it's dangerous, it's tumah, etc. Right, now, and there's all other ways of consulting with mediums and with other sources of tumah as well.
Divination also with for the water.
Divination is something else, but even that
the time is women.
Yeah, of course, witchcraft also.
Yeah.
That's why the Torah says lo techayeh mechashefa, lo techayeh. It doesn't say mechashef. It's mechashefa.
Oh yeah?
A woman, a witch. Right? It doesn't say mechashefa. Even though in Egypt the Hartumim were magicians, that was something else.
No, that's
anyway. No, astrology is a science. We're not talking about astrology. But even astrology, one is not allowed to conduct his life based on what astrology is predicting. That's called me'onen. Me'onen, in a way, according to one Peshat, is to follow the times, to do certain things. I'll give you an example of me'onen. Sadat. Remember Anwar Sadat? When he arrived in Israel, he didn't get off the plane for half an hour or more. It took at least a half an hour more for him to get off the plane. Why? Because his private personal astrologer told him at what time to get off the plane. Everything was done with astrology. So was President Reagan. Many of his decisions were done, and his wife was done through astrology.
And
historically, many things were done through astrology because there is some truth to it. This is not prophecy. That's why it's not always accurate 100%. And there's different parts of astrology. One deals with the temperament and individuality and personality of people, their character and their nature, and one is with predictions based on certain trends, according to the mazal, which one can figure out by making a chart. If you make a chart of a person, if you know his hour of birth, you can approximately see what his mazal will look like. If you gave me all that information, I can tell you right away.
Yeah, but you won't do it. Right?
I won't do it, but besides the fact that it's not 100% clear for various reasons. Reason number one, because we're not as smart as the past generations who were maybe more expert in this. And number two, Am Yisrael me'al hamazal. So even if something is not so good, we can change it to tshuva, tefillah, tzedakah. But the part of the mazal which deals with the character and nature, that is of course accurate, and even that can be modified by working on one's midot. So anyway, so obviously astrology is not a problem per se, it's a science, and if an astrologer tells you something, you have to be concerned about it. You can't say, I'm just going to ignore it.
So it's better not to know.
But it's better not to consult. Why? For Tamim Tiyeh Hashem Elokecha. Now what is Tamim? The Torah is telling us Tamim at the end of all these prohibitions. Because Torah does not want us to go consult with them. Not because it's not true. It is true. But the problem is, if you go consult with these things, two things will happen. One, you will be slowly but surely immersed in the Tumah, and that will drive you away from Borei Olam. Hashem wants us to be close to Him. He wants us to rely on Him, not to go through all these things. What was the Yetzer Hara of Avodah Zarah? At one time, there was a Yetzer Hara, an evil inclination to worship idols. Were these people crazy? To worship a stone? No. These things, there was a power, as there always is. Right? There was a certain koach. Back then it was very evident, this koach that existed. And they adored it. They admired it. They what's the word for it? Revered it, right? And they got immersed in it. And after relying on it and believing in it, that takes them away from Hashem.
Right.
Hashem is the boss. He does everything.
Right.
Yeah.
Everything else are just his messengers. Of course, there's a lot of energy in this world. There's a lot of melachim and meshatim and servants. But he's the boss. He's the source on top of everybody. Of course, the rain works by certain laws of nature.
Yeah.
But who controls the laws? Who made the laws? Hashem. So are we going to turn to certain gods and spirits to bring rain, like the Indians do? You know, boo, 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 with smoke. And, who makes all this? Borei Olam. So we always pray to Borei Olam. We don't need smoke and we don't need worshiping.
People said you want to get married in Rosh Chodesh, it's a good day, or this Thursday and Mondays are good because they Sefer Torah. You shouldn't do this.
No, that's okay. That's okay. Whatever we know that the Chachamim told us, that certain days are more mesugal, that the Chachamim tell us, that source of that information is a pure, clean source, and it's okay. So the Torah makes this statement at the very end of these transgressions, of these prohibitions, that these are dangerous, they're no good, they drive us away from Borei Olam, they distance us from Him, and we need to rely on Hashem. So Tamim Tiyeh Hashem Elokecha, when something bad happens, we need to consult, you have questions, you have problems. Tamim Tiyeh means rely on Hashem. Tamim means Shalem, your faith should be complete. If your faith is not complete, you go consult with others. If you're complete, if you have complete reliance on Hashem, then you know that everything is for your good. You know that Hashem is watching you. You know that Hashem is managing the world. So why go and ask these people what's going on? You can ask rabbis for direction because they will give you kibun, direction according to the Torah, according to what Hashem, according to what Hashem wants. But you go with these people who will give you all these silly advice. And the same is true with marriage counselors and psychologists that are not observant or they're not Jews. They may be good in their field, but depending on the circumstances and the case, they may give you the bad advice, the wrong advice, which is not according to the Torah. Somebody who needs to consult is a psychiatrist. Some consultant should go with somebody who has a Torah background. Make sure that the advice that he's giving him is according to the Torah. The Chafetz Chaim says, Tamim Tiyeh im Hashem Elokecha. Be tamim only with Hashem, not with people. Don't be naive, don't be simple, don't be sincere, not in the sense of being sincere and open to people, but don't be believing with people. Be suspicious of people. Kavdeu v'chashdeu, you respect and suspect. Tamim tiyeh im Hashem Elokecha only. It says here only im Hashem Elokecha, not with Bnei Adam. Right? So you have to be careful. In other words, the Chafetz Chaim says with human beings you have to be careful. You can't be tamim. In other words, I believe him, I trust him. He looks like a nice guy. Just read history books. How many people have been cheated? How many people have been stabbed in the back? How many people have been lied to? There's other words.
Taken for a ride.
Taken for a ride. Yeah.
But with your family you can be.
No, but there's another word. If somebody, blackmail, taken advantage. This exists every single day. If you open up the newspaper and you will see all sorts of stories.
Every day.
And Hadash Tachat HaShemesh. Nothing has really changed. Okay, today we have a wagon which has no horses in front of it. Instead it has an 8-cylinder engine inside. I mean, these things have changed. It's a wagon. It's still a wagon. It drives you, but it
takes you where you are. 4 wheels.
But otherwise the world is the same world. Learn Pirkei Avot, learn Mishlei, learn Kohelet. Take all this advice and apply it. Why learn from one's experience and mistakes if we have all that chokhmah there? So Tamim Tiyeh im Hashem Elokecha only, now with Bnei Adam. With Bnei Adam, with people you have to be careful. Okay, next point. Perek Yud Tet, Parashat Shoftim. Torah tells us an important rule. If somebody does something to somebody, ועשיתם לו כאשר זמם לעשות לאחיו.
Don't do Torah.
כאשר זמם, ולא כאשר עשה. It's as he intended to do, not as he really did. The case is 2 witnesses who are testifying that Reuven owes money to Shimon. And we find out later, before the judgment came out, that it's not true. It's a lie. We made up a story. And we, of course, put a lot of weight on 2 witnesses. 2 witnesses, if they're kasher le'edut, if they're shomer Shabbat, they're not psulim. If they're qualified to be witnesses, then we rely on them. So we find out that they were liars. What they said is not true. What happens? The Torah says, his punishment is, do unto him what he intended to do. Reuven and Shimon come and say, Levi killed Yehudah. We saw it with our own eyes. So they're about to take out Levi, kill him, death penalty. Two witnesses, right? Two witnesses is enough. Now what happens if they kill him? If they already succeeded in carrying out the judgment, they believe their witnesses, and Levi was killed, then they find out that it's not true. We don't do under Reuven and Shimon what they did to Levi. Torah says something interesting. You only carry out this judgment, this penalty of kasher zamam la'asot v'lo kasher asa, only before it was carried out. They almost took him out to kill. You put Reuven and Shimon to death. You do to them what they intended to do to Levi. They intended to make him pay. They intended to kill him. They intended to do something else that can be applied to them. It has to be something that can be done to them. Then if they were not successful, only then do you do it to them. If they were successful, they got away with it. It's already too late. We found out too late. You no longer give them this punishment. They will be punished by Shammai. The jurisdiction is turned over to Hashem. The jurisdiction is taken away from the Betin down here. Why?
They go free.
They don't go free. Eventually Hashem takes care of it. Right now the Betin here does not. Yeah, obviously they can be punished in other ways, but they don't get the death penalty. They don't get the kasher zaman. Kasher zaman is only what they intended, but they didn't do yet. What's the difference? I would think the other way around. If they were successful, that's when you kill them. If they were not successful, maybe you would punish them anyway. But why only if they intended, they didn't succeed, and not if they succeeded? Very important point. Anytime Betin mistakenly succeeds in carrying out a judgment that is incorrect, Hashemayim, they let it happen. See, sometimes Hashem does not necessarily instruct someone to do things. We have free will, but Hashem does have something called non-interfering. Right? Hashem can say, do this or don't do this. He can stop you or he can push you to do it. Or there's something in between called I don't interfere. If it happens, it happens. If it happens, it doesn't happen.
It's up to that person.
It's up to that person. Now, that individual has free will to kill. Nobody's going to stop him. Hashem can, of course, make miracles, but Hashem says, in this case, I'm not making a miracle. This individual who's about to die does not have enough merits, so I should perform a miracle. This guy is a murderer. Re'evim are false witnesses. Bedin is not such great tzaddikim. They also are not so completely clean.
The whole thing is open.
Right? Hashem lets it happen. This individual, obviously, for him, it's going to be a big kapara. It's an atonement. There's no doubt whatsoever about it. Anytime anything happens, whether it was meant to be or not meant to be, it's a kapara. So something good, some benefit comes out of it. Once it happened, it means that Hashem allowed it to happen. If Hashem allowed it to happen, then these two don't have to get killed. But nevertheless, since they carried it out, they wanted this, they approved of it. Case. That's the only question. As you know, if somebody murders, Reuven murders Shimon, there are no witnesses, the court can't take this case. Or if they didn't warn him, or it was only one witness. There has to be two witnesses, they have to see him, they have to warn him, he has to do it intentionally. Right? Not by accident. So in order for all these conditions to exist, you have to have, everything there perfectly. Otherwise, you will not have a death penalty so easily. So who takes care of it? Hashem. The question is in whose jurisdiction it is. Kasher Zaman, therefore, is a very special din that you carry it out only if he intended, but he was unsuccessful. He deserves it, of course. He intended to do this. But what's the purpose of this kind of a punishment? It's not just a financial penalty. It's not just prison. Why do they get the exact same thing? Exactly. So the Torah goes on to say, why vasitim lo kasher zaman? והנשארים ישמעו ויראו ולא יוסיפו לעשות עוד כדבר רע זה בגלל. All those who are watching, those who remain alive, those who are still around, should see what happens to those who intend to do it, and should not repeat something like that. Why do you think in Saudi Arabia there's not too many robberies?
They cut their hands.
Because they cut their hands. Yeah. Now, I'm not suggesting you should cut somebody's hand, but it works. It works. And the Torah does believe very strongly in deterrence, not in punishment. There's no such thing as punishment. What do you get out of punishment? There's deterrence and there's kaparat avonot. If somebody does something, you have to carry out judgment to deter others from doing it, and because justice requires it, and the individual needs a kapara too, right? It's not a punishment. So here, the idea of doing unto them is to deter. Now, there have been people who have claimed that the death penalty does not deter. First of all, I disagree with it. I think it deters some people, maybe not everybody. There's a lot of crazies out there.
Yeah.
Okay, but it's definitely deters.
Yeah, sure.
If you wouldn't have it, it would be even more rampant, right? And second of all, that's the proper penalty for the individual who committed an act of murder, is to take his life for his life. So it's not, death penalty is not only deterrence, it also is to meet our judgment. That soul that was taken away prematurely from this world is not in peace until his murderer is put to death. What do you think a ghost is? A ghost is a spirit of an individual that was usually murdered. When a house is haunted by a ghost or ghosts, it's because somebody was killed in that house. That is why there is a law on real estate in the state of California, maybe in other states, that anybody that was killed in a house, if there was a murder, an act of murder in a home, you need to report it when you sell the home. Not everybody wants to buy such a home because it may be haunted. Well, I don't know if that's necessarily the reason, but that may be one of the reasons. The ghost is the ruach, the spirit of that individual that was usually murdered. Usually he was murdered, and he's not in peace.
He remains in the house.
Yeah, Lincoln's ghost comes back from time to time to the White House. A lot of people have seen it, and he was assassinated. So even though by now his assassin was killed, of course, but there's a certain attachment perhaps to the place.
So what do you do with this? Just to make praise or something special?
No, there's certain things you can do to drive away.
So he doesn't come back.
Right.
Or to put him at peace, no?
Yeah, it depending on the situation. Somebody who's there is. I had a case over here not long ago, about a year or two ago. People were seeing, things, and it was true. And I don't know what the source or why it happened, but I told him to remove he had idols in the house. That was his business, those statues. They're not necessarily idols. They may or may not be worshipped, but first of all, get rid of the tumah from the house. I think after that, they stopped coming. Yeah, this happens. It's very rare to hear about it here. Yeah, in Burma. Oh, sure, but in Burma it was Shedim. It was demons.
Worse.
Of course it's worse. Yeah. Shedim? Shedim are mazakim. They're spiritual beings that can be troublemakers. They cause problems. A lot of the UFOs, the real ones, are Shedim. A lot of them are just fantasy or phenomena in the weather, maybe. I can't, I don't know each individual case. But some of those cases have to do with the demonic apparitions. Yeah, because they're a fact. But in urban places, you don't see it so much. More only in rural places. Anyway, so all these things exist, and it's not new for us. But for many people, of course, who are unaware, they're shocked when they hear it for the first time. We believe in UFOs. Yeah. You know what it is. It's not aliens from outer space. It's aliens that exist here. They live with us, and they look very much similar. And some of them are walking right now on Melrose.
Yeah? You're not joking.
I'm not joking.
No, he's not joking.
Yeah. Really? Yeah. There are some that look just like us. Yeah. But you can't tell the difference.
Excuse me, say that against me.
Yeah.
What are they, Shedim or they what?
Shedim, mazakim, there's different types of them.
And they walk in the...
Some of them look very human, right? And some of them, of course, have chicken feet and look more like animals. There's different types. Anyway, it's a whole different subject. But some of them sometimes come amongst humans.
But we said they're not allowed in big cities, no?
Yeah, but sometimes when people call them or do something or bring them, or if they have a particular place which was their territory and somebody built a home there, there's a halakha. I'll tell you just quickly. There's a halakha that you can't close the window. You have a window here. You can't close it. You have to be very careful not to close a window that was open or a door unless you open up a hole somewhere else.
I mean, you leave one window open. If you have 4 windows,
Right, exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
You can close 2 but leave 2.
Exactly. Why? Because depending on the circumstances, it's very possible that they should even use that as their exit. And now you're closing their exit, not that they can't get out, but they get very much upset and they cause trouble in the home. There have been many stories, even amongst religious people, that they were. The father was, Baruch Hashem, smart to suspect. The son was telling his father, Daddy, I see a monster. And kids talk. Something weird. A man. I think he said a man. What are you talking about? And the son was a normal son. And finally, the father caught onto it. There were two cases. One, the father caught onto it. Another case, the father asked the rabbi, who was aware about these things, said, just close a window. You just close the door. You do something. He says, yes. He says, that's the problem. Go immediately and open up, make a little hole, make something. As soon as he did that, he never came back. So yeah, there's certain things one has to be careful because it interferes with them. Yeah.
And I see because I had 4 windows, I closed 2. So I left 2 open.
That's fine, as long as you left 2 open, that's fine.
Try to.
Yeah.
It's nice to know about them. You can
Sure.
take action.
Yeah, sure. Okay. Even in the city, this could happen. Yeah.
In your own house.
No, I mean, in your own house, not the place you're
Close
the window.
Completely. I'm talking about not closing. I'm talking about sealing it completely.
Yeah.
Right.
Leave it a little open.
If you have another one, it's fine. If there's another exit, it's fine. All right. So we were talking about the in order that there should be fear, there should be deterrence. The deterrence in Yahadut and Judaism is very, very important. That prevents people from doing averot. People see nida is karet. Nida is karet.
Say that again.
Nida, being with a woman, whether it's your wife or not, that she who's a nida is karet. It's a terrible punishment. That I don't know where the person is severed. He dies before his time, maybe. There's various types of karet. Unless he does the shuvah, it's a very big ketem on the neshama. There is tikkunim. If anybody that needs tikkun, I have a list. A woman, while she's a nidah, she hasn't gone to the mikveh yet. Whether she's single and can't go to the mikveh, or she's already your wife, married, but she didn't go to the mikveh. She's a nidah.
She can't detect, but she doesn't go to mikveh.
It makes no difference. She's not tehorah. She's not clean. She's a nidah. It's a big problem. Right. So the Torah tells us, be careful with this. Karet. The Torah tells us about chametz pesach, right?
It's karet.
Eshet ish, right? Sekila or henek, right? Depending. Married woman. These are terrible things, but nevertheless, you still have people who commit these avonot. But the Torah has to give it to us in these terms to make it very severe and let us know how serious it is, and we still don't know how serious it is. But just by the punishment itself, you know that this is a terrible avon, and this helps a little bit of as a deterrent. You need to have a deterrent, otherwise a person will be doing all sorts of things.
How do you convince a woman to go?
What?
How you convince some women they don't go?
You have to explain to them how serious this is.
They don't. This is not
Well, obviously they're not afraid. They have no Yirat Shamayim.
So
First of all, you have to introduce them to what Yirat Shamayim is. You can't just convince them about Karet.
So the husband cannot have a relation with
right,
his
he can't live with such a woman.
No.
Right. A woman that doesn't go to the mikveh, doesn't care about them, he's divorced.
I mean, how to divorce? You should divorce.
How you can't live with her, right? How are you going to live with her?
I mean, they're almost like I don't know if they're
Yeah.
Maybe not 80%.
Yeah.
They don't go. Great.
Right. So they
80%
they are falling in this avon. They are committing this avon, and Hashem, of course, takes in consideration the fact that they're shogeg and zid, that they are doing it not knowing. So obviously, Bashamayim, they deal with an individual in one way. If he did it b'shogeg, in another way, if he did it b'mezid. But he still has to account for it.
He keeps telling his wife, go.
He says, I didn't know. Ignorance of the law is
now
no
you know.
excuse. You should have learned. We have the Torah. Learn it. Life requires one to assume many responsibilities, just like driving. You learn how to drive. You learn the law. You learn, to live is an important, job, an important task. Learn the rules. Especially if you're Jewish, you got to know many rules. If you do not learn, of course you will not know. And you will make terrible mistakes, Khalila. Okay, next point. Torah talks about Milchama. Perek Chav, Pasuk Aleph. Ki tetzeh lemilchama lo'ovecha, going out to war. Torah tells us that there would be an individual that would call out, Shamay Saratim Kredim Hayom Lemilchama. He would give them a speech before they would go to war. You're going to war. You're going with to your enemies. Al yirach lemavchem. Don't be soft. Al tireu. Don't be afraid. Al tachtizu v'al ta'artzu mitneim. Don't be concerned. Ki Hashem Elohechem ha'olech imachem l'ilachem lachem v'lechem l'shia atem. Hashem will help you out. Then Dibru Shoftim, the police would give their own speech, and they said, Mi ha'isha shebana bayit chadash, who just built a new home? V'lo chanocho, did not inaugurate it, he did not use it yet. Yilech v'yashov lebeto. Mi ha'isha shenata kerev, just planted a vineyard, did not enjoy the fruit yet. Go home. Mi ha'isha she'eras isha, who just got engaged, just got married. Lo lekah. he's not completely married. לא לקחה, ילך וישוב בביתו. And then the Shoftim would add one more individual. מי האיש הירא ורח רבב? Who's a coward? In other words, who is fearful? ילך וישוב בביתו. ולא ימס את לבב אחיו. You should not discourage others when he takes flight. What's going on over here? There are various individuals who are told to go home, to either to enjoy their home because they just recently got married, they just recently built something, and they're entitled to first to enjoy the fruit of their labor, the husband and wife to be together. But there's an individual who's also told to go back because he's afraid. Just because he's afraid he should go back, yes, the simple Peshat means that you shouldn't discourage others. You're afraid, you're going to make other people afraid. But the rabbis tell us over here, we're talking about a person who's also afraid of these avonot. He knows he committed sins. So when a person commits sins and he goes to a makom sakana, to a place of danger, his books are open. They're going to see, oh, this guy is full of sins. They're not going to make him miracles. Right. And you know what the saying goes, every bullet has an address.
Right.
And you know, that's a nice one. In Israel, there's a saying like that. Every bullet has an address. In Et Milchama, that rule is a little bent. Bullets can be flying all over the place, and the books are open, the avonot are exposed, and they have to make a miracle for a person to be saved from all the bullets that are flying. Yeah. My father-in-law, Rav Shalom, told me that when he went, he was in the Russian army, he was at the front in Königsberg, Prussia, World War II. It was Russia against Germany, and it was a big battle. And he said that he went out with maybe 1,000 or more soldiers. A few dozen remained at the end of the battle. They were killed like sardines, he said. Oh, shoot. He said, I had a heavy winter coat, he tells me, and after the battle, I took a look at the coat. It was completely perforated with shrapnel. You know, from bombs. You know.
Yeah, right.
He says, how come it entered here and not here? Nashamayim. Kadosh Baruch Hu apparently wanted to preserve him. For whatever, we don't know. Right? Once a person goes to makom sakana, any time a person goes to a dangerous place, the books are open. If he has avonot, he has reason to be afraid of. Right. They may not make miracles. Right. He may get caught, even though it wasn't his time to go. He was supposed to live to 85 and collect Social Security for 20 years. Right? No, it's normal life. But he went to 40. Or he went to 22 as a young soldier. Why? He was in makom sakana. So these people who are fearful because of their avonot, they're entitled to go back. Yes, they might get killed. We don't want them there. And besides, they may make trouble for others too. And that's the meaning over here. Now, milchama. When we're talking about milchama, there's different types of milchamot. There's something called milchemet mitzvah and milchemet hareshut. Milchemet mitzvah, which is an obligation and duty for every Jew to go out, even chatanim, bekalot, milchemet amalek, or milchama to defend. The enemy is coming after you. Defend your country, nobody goes home. Everybody fights. We need everybody to defend. To defend, no. If we needed them, if the Israeli army really needed them, of course they would go. They defend the country, many of them go. They would drive the buses. You know, I remember in the Chemish Yamim, the 60 while I was in Israel, all the buses, the city buses were used to take soldiers to the Sinai desert. Really? As soon as the Nixon sent shipment, that was Yom Kippur War. They sent shipment. As from the airport, immediately it went to the battle, right away. So who drove the vehicles? I'm sure you had religious people who at least could drive the vehicle, right? So you can find a job for everybody. The point is, if it's a milchemet mitzvah, everybody goes. Only milchemet hareshut, which you are on the offensive to expand your borders, etc., things that are not concern the Eretz Yisrael immediate threat, then these people would go back. That's the difference between milchemet mitzvah and milchemet reshut. Next point is towards the end of Parashat Shoftim is a gla rufa. Somebody is found dead outside the city in the field, right? You don't know who killed him. The city closest, you measure the city closest has to bring an igla, a calf, and they chop the head by the neck, and they ask Hashem to be mechaper, that it's not our fault. We took care of this individual. We didn't let him go by himself without any protection. They have to confess what's going on over here. Obviously, when somebody is found dead in proximity to the city, that city may have something to blame for it. It's not a coincidence. If it happens in your city, if it happens in your neighborhood, if it happens close to your house, then the fact that you have to observe it, the fact that you have to live through it, means that there's a little bit of an ashma, a little bit of a guilt, and that's the kapara that they have to atone for. And the Midrash says that once they would begin the process of kafara, they would get involved, they would investigate, eventually will find murderers.
Yeah.
So Hashem is giving us all these instructions that need to be done, because by way of this instruction, you will also find who the murderer was. So there was various ideas here. But anyway, what they would say is Yadenu lo shafechu. They would say our hands did not spill this blood. In other words, this did not happen because of our immediate fault. The Zekanim would say so. Nevertheless, the city that was closest proximity would still have to bring the Ikla, because since they're the closest one, we blame them.
Yeah.
There was a quick story, I'll tell you a quick story in the Gemara. I think it was with Rabbi Yeshua. Elyahu Navi used to come to Rabbi Yeshua. He was a good friend with them. He would learn with them. Elyahu Navi doesn't just come to anybody. And he stopped coming to him for a while. So the next time he saw him, he said, Elyahu Navi, where were you? How come you didn't come for so long? So he said so he told him because recently, I think it was 2 kids were killed by lions or by bears, by wild animals within your vicinity. And this happened because this would not have happened had you prayed for your community and for your city. Had you looked out to make sure that there's no avonot in the city. If something happens to a city, if something happens to a community, one has to examine. Maybe there's something wrong in the community. Otherwise, why is this happening? So there's a Kenim in the city that's closest proximity to this victim have to nevertheless ask for forgiveness and bring this Igla Rufa because they're partially to blame.
See, the kidnappings of the girls being murdered, there's a reason for all this.
Oh, of course. Okay, the last point is the Melucha. In Parashat Shoftim, a little earlier, Torah does tell us, after Shoftim v'Shotrim, the Torah says if you want to have a king, you can have one. It doesn't say you should have one. Som tasim alecha melech, asher yibchar Hashem lokecha bom. Hashem has to choose him, mikerav achecha, from your own brothers. Lo tuchal latet alecha yituchri, cannot be a goy. Torah says, but this king cannot have too many horses, otherwise he will take you back to Egypt, where the horses used to come from. You have to make sure that it doesn't have too many women, that don't turn his heart away, as women do, right? And that he shouldn't go after too many riches, kesef v'zahav, and he should write himself a Sefer Torah that he should have close to him, where he should learn with it. There's instructions. The king has to be a special person. But this is only mitzvah if the Jews request it. We don't need one. Shoftim v'Shotrim would have been sufficient. But if you want a melech, there are certain conditions that have to be met. That's the case, and the Torah allows for a melech. Why was Hashem upset when the Jews during the time of Shemuel Hanavi asked for a king? That's when, after the Shoftim, we start with Shaul HaMelech, David HaMelech. After that, we didn't have Melechim. Shaul was the first one. And Shemuel said, this is not good. Hashem is upset. Why? You don't need a king. But the Torah says you can have a king. The problem is, if you look at the Sefer Shemuel, you will see that they asked, let us have a king. Kechol hagoyim.
Oh,
it was those words that were the problem. We want to be like everybody else. What did Israel say? Let us be. What is Israel saying today? The Medina, the country today. Let us be like everybody else. Let us be a democracy like everybody. Let us be like Kol hagoyim. Yeah. Why should we be a Jew in a ghetto, persecuted? It's time that we will be an Am Chofshi Be'arzeno. This is the wrong idea. Understand? Of course we want to be in our land, but we want to be under the reign of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. We don't want to be like everybody else. Am levadad yishkon, Bilam says. Bilam says, you will be a nation unto yourself. Right? You will not be like everybody else. We're different. Hashem does not want us to assimilate. That is the problem of requesting a king. If you want to request it because you want to be like everybody else, that's wrong. Forget it. If you want to request a king because you want his authority, that's fine. Because the advantage of a king is that there will be a sole authority over everybody else. It's not like you have a Congress, Republicans and Democrats, and you have all these parties that can't figure out what to do, and you always have fights. Let the king decide. A dictatorship, if he's a good dictator, is the best type of government. It's the best type of government.
I agree with you.
The problem is we haven't had good dictators. Right? That's the problem.
That's true.
So the Torah says, Som tasim alecha melech. If you're going to have a king, make sure that he's a king who's Yerei Shamayim, that he's God-fearing, and that he meets these conditions. Because ultimately, in the end, that is exactly what will happen when Mashiach comes. He will be a king. And he will be a king that the whole world, B'ezrat Hashem, will accept it.